Hello everyone, how you doing? And welcome back to Skye and Evan in the morning. And today we're gonna be talking we're gonna be making an extra episode because there's a new movie that came out based on a book that Evan really likes. And watched the film on an IMAX and loved it. It was like, let's do this. And Evan watched it fairly quickly too. So here we are to talk about Project Hail Mary by Lord and Miller. Um,
by
Evan.
by by everyone good, by a
Yeah,
solid
like Greg
directors, writers,
Fraser,
cinematographer,
fucking Daniel
music. I
Pemberton.
That's what
Just
I
the
said
best
going
of
into
the
this
best.
movie it had everything going for it. I'm like, there is no reason why this movie should not be a grand slam home run.
Hmm.
And yeah, I you go first because I come from this from a book perspective. It's funny.
Hmm.
One of my favorite film critics, he reviewed it under the context of having read the book, and I'm like, yeah, it's a different experience if you read the book. So, what did you
Yeah.
think?
I really liked it. I was talking to you and I thought it was funny that people were talking about how the Rocky's existence is basically a spoiler in the trailer. But when I watched the
Yeah,
film, I was just like, this is just like the premise. Like he finds an alien and then that's the rest of the movie. Apparently like half of the movie happens without him even finding Rocky first, right? The book.
yeah. So one of the things that I caught on to really quickly when I was watching the movie is they fast track. Basically, one of the interesting elements of Project Hail Mary, the Martian is written with journal entries, and in the movie, they're video logs. In the book, at least at the start, it's all first person. I woke up, I saw this. Making my way to. It's all I did this. I'm thinking that. I'm thinking, and it you'd think it would get old quickly or it wouldn't work, but it does. And it's funny. And you're just stuck with Grace the entire time. The first part of the book is all about astrophage. It's all about the Petrova problem, and they stick with that, and they stick with. And I've always said I think they could have marketed it on astrophage alone, of it being like we have this line that's connected to the sun that's making it dimmer. But I'm like, we also found out it's fucking rocket fuel and it can get us. And that's the thing. Like, we can't interstellar travel. Like, the problem is how fast you can go. If you can go near the speed of light, it would be a lot easier to get to some of the stars. But astrophage can get you there. And this is what I always tell people. I'd like to say maybe a third into the book that Rocky's ship gets introduced, that Blip A appears. And when that happened, I could not stop reading the book. I think I finished it in 2 days, and I'd heard vaguely that there were aliens in it, and I was wondering maybe the planet they're going to is a full like civilization, and it's like aliens with an astronaut. But I'm like, no, it's two different species sent on the same mission, and they just happen to coincide, and they happen to work well with each other, and
Yeah.
but most of the story in the movie and the book is about, which is why I'm like, it's fine to market it with Rocky. I didn't spoil, I didn't know for sure that there were aliens in it, but realistic, you gotta market the movie around the cute alien
I
because it's
mean,
all
yeah.
about the cute alien, and then
I Yeah, I hadn't seen the trailers because you told me not to. Way back when the first trailer came out, you said like the trailer has like a spoiler because there's a twist halfway through the story that's spoiled in the trailer. Like, okay, I'm not gonna watch the trailer then. And I saw a bunch of people talking about that on Twitter, so it's like, okay. And I only watched the trailer after I watched the movie because like I watched the movie, I was like, huh, I wonder what the twist was. Was it that he was that he was forced to go? Because I actually thought that was a really interesting twist for
that
Grace's
that
character.
is that's more along the lines of a twist, and the marketing didn't spoil that. It's a hell of a reveal.
Yeah.
Strat is even more of a bastard in the book than she is in the movie. She's a very interesting character, but that scene's crazy where you're like, oh my god, she really did put a gun to the guy's
Yeah.
head. There's a lot of reasons why in the book that are explored, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I figured it out fairly early that he was forced to go there because he kept repeating that that he was not brave, and he was like, so oh, the other people are brave, good on you and everything. And then when I was like, okay, I wonder how he's gonna be forced, and then the explosion happens, I'm like, yeah, they're gonna force him to go. And I do like a lot of what it does for his character, that he is not brave, but he does it anyway. He saves Earth, basically, even though he isn't brave. I think that's cool. And finding
Yeah.
someone to be brave
There's
for as well, which is,
yes,
Rocky, which is the whole, like, I think the whole through line with this film is, like, the idea of finding someone to be brave for. So I like that.
I really loved that line. I don't remember if that was a line in the book. Like if it does, it didn't stand out, but that line to me felt like because the whole thing, astronauts like they need to have the right stuff. You need to be super brave. You need to only a couple of people can be an astronaut,
Hmm.
but and he just doesn't think he has it, but he's like you need someone that that gets you up there. And
Yeah.
in that
And
case,
it's
he
the
has
whole thing,
Rocky.
like, he wouldn't have had the will to actually, like, do any of what he does if it wasn't for Rocky. If it wasn't for, like, just the
Probably not.
companionship of, like, someone there going through the same shit and just, like, being there with him, just being there. So I really like that. I mean, their whole dynamic is fucking amazing. And it's insane. Like, people were talking about Ryan Gosling being like, "Oh my god, he's only in, like, like, slop and everything now, like sci-fi and, like, lowbrow films." And I'm just like, dude, he just did a one-man show in this film, basically, because he's acting against a puppet. And he's doing fantastic. And I don't know how you feel about the humor, because a lot of people have said it's, like, very, like, Deadpool, Marvel
It
type of humor.
it it definitely ups the notch from the humor in the book. Like, Andy Weir is a very comedy oriented. The Martian is a very funny book and a very funny movie, but it does. I mean, it's the same writer as The Martian, Drew Goddard, and it
Yeah.
reminded me of that. Just adding, there's a little bit more Marvel-y jokes, but
Hmm.
they're all pretty well executed and
Hmm.
earnest. So I,
And Ryan Gosling is very funny. He is a very
yeah, and
he's one
well,
of my favorite actors, and he's so fucking funny. People took a while to realize that, but, like, him in The Nice Guys and in fucking
yeah,
La La Land, he's so funny.
you get his full out overacting and like screaming and like it's I the overt reactions from Ryan Gosling are
Yeah,
amazing in this movie. He's an underrated actor for comedy. And
yeah,
I never pictured someone like Ryan Gosling when I was reading the book, but he's very well cast as Grace. And
yeah.
the camaraderie between Rocky and him is solid. So the I was mentioning the movie fast tracking things, and one of the
Mhm.
things that they do fast track, which is just amazing in the book, is the communication between Rocky and Grace. It's one of those things where like this could have been fleshed out if it was a mini series instead. You could have had a whole episode dedicated to that, but because that's how it starts, is Rocky starts mirroring him, and then he tries teaching him math first, and there's a funny moment with a clock where it still happens in the movie where he realizes the letters need to be elevated, but Rocky tells him to push the clock directly up to the wall, and he's like, "What? Why does it need to be like that?" And he puts the clock up to try to tell him when he's going to be back from a nap because he's been going for like 10 hours straight, and he needs to sleep. And that also brings up the you sleep, I watch, which is a thing in Iridian culture. So I that part of the book is one of the strongest parts when it really is just two species trying to communicate with each other. And it like I it's I've always said the book is a better version of Interstellar and Arrival.
Mhm.
It's Interstellar in terms of the going to the far reaches of space to save the world, and it is the joining of two species and the attempt to communicate and to problem solve. And why? Because they have the same problem. Both their sons are dying for the same reason. They both came up with the same solution, and like a Hail Mary, just a ridiculous odds of these two species colliding and working through the problem together, but they pull it off.
Yeah. It reminded me a lot of Sunshine, and I rewatched it um
You
2 days ago, because I was just like, geez, I can't stop thinking about Sunshine
is
after
that Danny
watching. It
Boyle?
is Danny
The
Boyle,
or
written by
I
Alex
I
Garland, directed by Danny Boyle.
I'd never seen that. Is it
It's
good?
amazing. It's a much better version of Interstellar. Um, it's a very I thought it was similar because it's the whole thing of, like, the sun is dying. And that film is different where they need to like deliver a payload to the sun so that they can create a star within the sun for it to keep like burning because the sun is burning out.
Damn.
And it's,
Uh,
yeah, it's very very interesting. And it has,
how do
so
you
they
even
literally need to
okay?
travel to the sun. It's very interesting. um and yeah,
Gotta check that out.
it's, yeah, I really love it. um and it reminded me of that, of the because of the sun thing. But Sunshine, it's kind of like a movie for like depressed people, I think. And like Project Hail Mary is so hopeful and so nice. It's like a warm cozy blanket of just like, yes, these two goobers are gonna save their planets. And they figure
Yeah.
out the, and like the science is even like kind of hand waved away. I've heard a lot that in the books is way more explicit. And there's a funny moment in the
Yeah.
film where he does a centrifuge with being unbalanced, and everyone's like talking about that on Twitter. Like, you can't do that. But I don't
Yeah, there
know.
was Andy Weir is like shockingly scientific. For one, he makes science entertaining, crunching numbers and just running data. Like he finds the most entertaining ways to make things interesting, but there's it- the books are a lot more grounded than the two film adaptations that we've had, and it's yeah, some of the science gets hand waved away. Something that I noticed that was a difference between the book and the movie, I mentioned this in my Letterbox review, but the movie adds elements to the story that boost the visuals, which were not in the book. For
Mm,
instance, Grace does not go onto Rocky's ship in the book. The implication is that it would be too small for him to maneuver around anyway, and obviously Iridians. The movie didn't highlight this all that much. Iridians are really hot. They live in an environment that's like they're basically like steam engines. Their blood is mercury. They breathe ammonia, and the temperature around them is like around 200 degrees. And in the book, when Rocky saves Grace during the when they're skimming the surface of Adrian, that he has to lift him up to put him in a pod, and when he does, he like burns the shit out of his arm and his back, and it's it's just one of those things where it's a little different, but
yeah, I mean, they
I
do
lost my
reference the ammonia and everything when they're first talking. He gives Rocky the what is it? He hands him something through the glass wall, and when he sticks his hand inside, he's like, Jesus, that's hot. Is that ammonia? So I guess that's what
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
reference to the book. Yeah, but yeah, I
Well, and
didn't know their body was like super hot. That's interesting.
it's funny too. The canister. It's a small moment when he like opens it. He manages to open it with lefty tidy, and then he's like smells it. It's like oh, and it's like in the book he's like oh shit, like it's a gas, and he realizes later like it's ammonia. I'm like that's not lethal to a human, but he's like shit, I shouldn't have just opened that
Yeah,
right there.
it's just very funny when he just smells. It's like, oh fuck, he's just like, oh no, uh, just like doing the
Yeah.
exact opposite of what a scientist should. That was a funny moment, and I do love it's like aliens are real, a gas is solid, nothing makes sense
Yeah.
anymore, everything is wrong,
That
and it's like, wait, lefty Lucy, righty tighty.
again,
It's like, oh, so good.
that's what I was talking about with like the Andy Weir thing is that he makes science so interesting because in the movie it's exactly that. It's similar to what he has in the book, but basically he wants to see what the canister is made of, and like if maybe it's on the periodic table, and then it says that it's made of xenon, and he's like xenon is a gas. I'm like there's like we don't have a way seemingly to form it into a solid, and xenonite is like stronger. It can be immensely thin in the books, but it's like it has the strength of titanium, and it basically works like 3D printing. So it's but it's just a funny moment where he's looking at it as a scientist of like xenon is a gas. How the hell could this thing be solidified? So, but yeah, some of the science elements from the book are diminished just for the sake of making the movie a little smoother, but like I said, he doesn't go on Rocky's ship in the book. Another thing that isn't in the book is that whole volume deal that he's got. They actually watched the movie Rocky in that montage, which I that was an amazing detail.
Mm.
But they added elements like that in the movie because they work better for a film. They work better for adding visuals. You know, what's the point of that? It's supposed to put you in Grace's shoes about when he's thinking back on Earth. You know, the beach. They connect that in the ending, but
Yeah.
I
It's interesting. There's a
this
similar like volume thing in Sunshine
well,
as well.
oh
Where
really? Well,
yeah, where they're in the ship and they there's the whole thing of like wanting to be back on Earth. There's a similar one
Star
in Sunshine. It's more like virtual reality almost. But
Star Trek has one of those. It's a common thing on spaceships and stories to have there be a room that like reminds you of Earth.
mm,
It's, you know, it makes a lot of sense from a psychological perspective, but yeah, so Greg Fraser's cinematography, let's just throw that out there because I like the the IMAX in this movie, like people have pointed out the lens flares being like fitting with the way the lenses worked in the movie and where they shot, they're almost like perfect lines and it's a pretty consistent visual
yeah,
trait in the
they made
movie.
a specific like lens for this film, and the lens flares are all vertical. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Um Absolutely beautifully shot through and
Mm.
through, and it depicts space in an incredible way. And
That shot when he's outside the ship, just outside of Adrian, getting um the astrophage, and then it just switches to infrared. Like that shot is so fucking beautiful.
yeah, oh my God, it's amazing. The I love as well how astrophage is depicted. That's skimming the surface of Adrian, like at the it's exactly like that in the book. I was pretty much what I was picturing. They made Adrian like way more vivid in color, but that's what it is. Just like skimming the atmosphere. There's like flame in front of the ship, and they and that's what they do. They build a chain in multiple layers that goes all the way to 5 miles down. That's just built of xenonite, and it collects what they need. So that entire sequence was a spectacle to behold.
It was very interesting to do the whole fishing like idea. I loved that scene so much. Like that was the scene where I said it was just like way better than even the docking scene in Interstellar, which is like the golden
Yeah,
standard of like action tense
spaceship
scenes
badassery.
in
Yeah,
sci-fi. Yeah, where it's just like Jesus, this is fucking awesome. Cause like, and there are like three moments in that scene where there's like basically no sound, and I love that I watch it in a theater where everyone's like respectful and silent because you could hear a pin drop.
oh
It's just
yeah.
like
Well, I remember
Jesus
there's
Christ,
a
everyone's super tense. Like oh my god, because I genuinely thought Ryland might die. But by that point, I
yeah,
thought maybe Rocky's gonna save the day, and then I thought Rocky's gonna die and Ryland's gonna save the day, but no, they both
dude,
survive.
dude, that moment fucking killed me when I read it. Like it's like that. There's this cutoff when the seat like goes all the way forward. I'm like, it's like that in the book. The gravity, if you will, it's pushing his seat all the way to the front, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna run out of breath. This is how it happens. And then that's in the book he says save Earth, save Iridan, and rather than write the message, but he's like it's like he bursts into flames, and I was just like, he can't do this alone. We need him. I'm like, don't die, Rocky.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh man, I that was very very well executed. That moment is it's just like it in the book where it's incredibly tense and it all builds to that where you have the breach and they almost die from it.
Yeah. God, really,
The-
really love this film. I'm glad you liked it as well. I was like, oh, is Evan gonna be
yeah,
like a spoil puts and be like, ah, it's not like the book? But no, Evan loved it
yeah.
too.
I could be a snob with books for sure, and I'm like I would recommend everyone to read the book. Like it's so funny. I watched The Martian before I read the book, but when I
Mm.
after I did, I'm like, dude, this is amazing. It But still, it's what I love about the best adaptations, you know? Is it perfect? Did they adapt everything? I'm like, no, there's a bunch of shit they cut out from the book, but it just makes more sense for a movie, and they use different elements, um, such as licensed music, you know, in the Martian, and in this movie they have that too.
Yeah, there's that Harry
Once,
Styles song, the
yeah,
fucking
you
karaoke
read
scene.
you read my mind. That scene is not in the book,
I
and
would imagine, I mean, how do you even
I
write karaoke properly? And it's just like a very film type of scene, but it works really well. And it apparently
yeah.
was Sandra Hiller's choice of song. She chose the song, which is very interesting.
Yeah, I find it funny because the lyrics kind of connect to the movie if you think
Yeah.
about it, and obviously, you know, leaving the atmosphere. But um, what I loved about that scene, from a book perspective, like I said in the book, like Strat's even more of a bastard. It's one of those things where she's kind of like a Nick Fury type character. She just has super secret ultra clearance and is so important and runs the entire place. And you're like, who even are you? Like,
Hmm.
I'm the person who this fell on. And that she tells Grace at a point in the book, like I think right before the explosion where they mismeasured the astrophage. He asks like, "What will you do for the next 20 years?" And in the book, she's like, "I'll probably be in front of Senate committees for the rest of my life, and maybe even get a jail sentence for what I've done." And it's just like but she has this attitude of like she made her own bed, she made her choices, and she's trying to save the world literally. So she's willing to fall on any grenade, and that's one of the reasons why she's so cold about forcing Grace to go on the mission. But what that scene does is it humanizes her because they're literally talking about that everyone else is partying and celebrating even though they're about to go on that mission, but she's kind of brooding on the deck, and she wants to because she doesn't want to bring the mood down. She doesn't want to weigh on them, but she goes down and she sings to them and captivates the entire audience. And I that was a very human moment for Strat's character that I think was a really good change, a really good addition to the story that
Hmm.
adds a layer to her. She even says that she was on the East Berlin like choir, I believe, or something along those lines. That's kind of that's supposed to connect to why she's able to sing like that. So yeah, that scene was really really good stuff. Just that's how you adapt a book, man. Just like you said, like how would you even write a karaoke scene in a book like that? I'm like, that's
Mm.
just it's unique to movies where you can have a character. It's almost like Great Balls of Fire from Top Gun Maverick, just a song that has particular importance, and the performance is what the whole scene's about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very film thing. And it's why it shows why there is value in film adaptations of books beyond just like telling the same story. Um, it is like translating it between mediums and using the new medium to tell the story in a different way. Um, as long as it stays true to the same like idea and themes, I think is like that's what I like about adaptations. When we talked about Invisible Life, that was one where it's just like they changed the story so
Oh
much.
yeah,
They made it super different, changed the point of view to make it like more about both sisters. But it's just like if the idea of the story, the theme of like the invisible life, someone who just lived and watched and had so many passions, but couldn't stick to anyone because of just like the life, the period she lived in. Like that's all there. It's just very condensed into like a movie form instead of a book where you can tell like a bunch of different stories with each chapter. And with this, from what you're telling me as well, it's just like there's a lot of stuff they cut out, but the heart of the story is still present, which is what's valuable to me. So yeah.
yeah. It's it's one of those things where we can keep going, but it's a plainly great movie. It's really well shot because like you know it's Greg Fraser. He's one of the better cinematographers working today. He just keeps throwing out bangers with Dune and Rogue One and the fucking Batman. It absolutely beautiful depiction of space, practical effects and sets. the performances. It is all but a one-man show with Ryan Gosling, and the puppeteer who played Rocky. The guy who plays him does amazing. Daniel Pemberton's score is pretty musical, or is pretty memorable. It uses licensed music well. The script is good by Drew Goddard. He clearly understands how to adapt Andy Weir, and on top of all else, like I mentioned Top Gun Maverick, it's a feel-good movie. It's a feel-good movie with blockbuster. It's March, but this has absolute blockbuster energy. It totally could have come out in June, and I hope it rakes in all the cash because it is the type of movie that you should see in theaters. We recommend movies, but I'm like, this is a movie where I'm like, I recommend this for theaters. Watch this in theaters. Do yourself a favor. Read the book. It's a really optimistic, hopeful, well-constructed film that is just pretty much solid on every level. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Lovely little film. I did very much enjoy it. Yeah. Yeah.
There are other points you wanted to talk about, or like kind of, I mean, we've talked about a lot. What do you...
No, not really. I think we've covered it all pretty well. And hopefully not spoiled the bigger things because this film just released, and we very much recommend that you go watch it in theaters and on IMAX, especially if you can. Beautiful.
I mean, low key, we haven't talked about the ending, but that's pretty true to the book, and the ending is a curveball. It's an interesting. It might not wrap up the way you might imagine, but it definitely wraps up in the right way. So
Yeah. I was thinking that I really enjoyed the ending as well. But yeah, that's the thing that we don't need to talk about because if you haven't seen the film, the one time we avoid spoilers.
As much as we can ish.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Very much recommend that you go watch this film. Very, very, very good. Very good.
2 thumbs way down from Skye and Evan.
I get it. I get it. But yeah, that's it, folks. We'll catch you next week, or I don't know when this might come out. We'll catch you soon, I guess. There's no recommendation today because this is an extra episode.
Bonus. Yeah. DLC episode.
DLC. Yeah.
Required reading.
But yeah, we'll catch you later, guys. Bye bye.
Later.